الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده تعالى ونشكره ونستعين به ونسترشده ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أما بعد عباد الله اتقوا الله فالله سبحانه وتعالى يقول في محكم التنزيل يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما إخوتي أخواتي في الله قد تعجبون من السبب الذي من أجله صعدت المنبر وأنا أحمل كراسات ثلاثة فليست عادتي أن أفعل ذلك ولكنه موضوع الخطبة الذي من أجله أردت أن أحمل هذه السجلات وهذا الموضوع كنت أنوي الحديث فيه منذ 6 أشهر ولكن حالت الظروف دون ذلك وجاء اليوم الذي نواجه فيه مشكلة كبيرة ونبحث عن الحلول سائلين الله عز وجل أن يصفي النوايا وأن يوفقنا لما يحبه ويرضاه. Before I start, it is not a sign of increased righteousness to allow the adhan to go off from your telephone and sometimes allow it to go to the end. I spoke about this. The adhan is not a tone for your telephone. It is not right to do that. Please, please eliminate that from your telephone. You do not need your telephone to remind you that it is time for Dhuhr or Asr or Fajr. This is probably the 1000th time that an imam or a khatib reminds us, but to no avail. Anyway, this is not the topic of the khutbah. You probably are wondering why I'm holding these 3 records with me, and it is not my habit to hold anything when I go up to the minbar to deliver the khutbah. But it is the topic of this khutbah that made me hold these records with me. And this topic I was planning to deliver for the past 6 months, but every time I wanted to do that, something comes up that it changes the topic to another. But today, the time has come to face the problem that is the subject matter of this topic. These are marriage registers, and I brought with me only 3 of them. I have close to 15, and Sheikh Jamal Talib has the same number, and Sheikh Abdul Fattah Tawakkul has the same number at the masjid, or even more over the years. And in these registers there are records of thousands of marriages. But the reality and the truth that I wanted to face my community with, out of the thousands of records of those marriages, I have searched to get the statistics of how many of those that we register as married couples stayed married. And the statistics show a painful reality that just shy of 50% of those marriages stay married. So almost half of those who get married end up in separation and divorce. And this is totally unacceptable. Not because the numbers are high, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala organized the institution of marriage to the point that if we show statistics of 50% divorce rate, it means we are not following the instructions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's as simple as that. We are not following the instructions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today I would like to go over a proposed solution by the people who really gave their oath before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lead this community. And their vision is not to lead the community by seeing how to maintain this place and what to do for next Ramadan. And no. They are thinking of the community and the prosperity of this community. And what shall we do about the social problems? How shall we face our difficulties? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower them and shower the community with His blessings, so that our children will continue to enjoy living Islam to the maximum. But without stable families, without happy families, we will not be able to give our children a happy, healthy dose of what Islam is all about. Divorce is not a simple matter. And we know, simply stated, that the 114 surahs of the Quran each has a title. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not assign a title to each surah except that the subject matter carrying that title is extremely serious, very important. And we know that one of the 114 surahs of the Quran carries the title At-Talaq, divorce. Not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed His messenger by Ya ayyuhan nabi, Ya ayyuhan rasul. And in this surah, right at the beginning, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to talk about divorce, He did not start by addressing those who are concerned, and that is the believers. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam never divorced any of his wives. But yet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started the surah by Ya ayyuhan nabi. And then He said, إِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَطَلِّقُوهُنَّ لِعِدَّتِهِنَّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about divorce. But He started by addressing Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because every time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses His Prophet, it's an extremely serious matter. So now put one and one together, the title of the surah and the way it was addressed to the believers, we will understand how serious divorce after marriage is. We really need to understand that the 50% divorce rate need not be that high. This rate with our parents never existed. Our parents never really resorted to divorce. I'm not claiming or saying that all their marriages were happy marriages, no. But they were wise enough to endure patience and work and try very hard to bring solutions to the problems they faced in their marriages. Yes, they did face problems, but the thing is, when our generation, and more so in our children, when they are facing similar problems, plus more problems brought forward by the nature of life we are living. Our parents did not have iPhones. Our parents used to communicate at least with each other, and one of the problems leading to divorce nowadays is lack of communication. After the first few weeks, couple of months of talking with each other, they go back to the habit of resorting to their fun, and that is the iPhone, not knowing that the iPhone can bring the demise of that marriage. I wanted to tell you that I sat with these records and I wrote down. So probably one of those rare times I'm going to reach to my pocket and tell you what I found, because I don't want to resort to my memory. I want to say it as it is. Every time I found what I have in those records, I wrote it here, because I wanted my khutbah to be a reflection of reality. I do not only want to strike on our emotions, but I want to reach out to our intellect. and do something about it. And I'll tell you what the leaders of the Islamic Center and the Masjid and the Bosnian Center and the Muslim Association of Canada, all of them agreed to do. But before they will go ahead with it, they wanted to ask each and every one of us, and I'll tell you what they wanted us to do. Now, let me tell you before I go into facts, that I was stunned when I was doing my research. I said, you know, I have a medical background, but I found that piece of information very intriguing. In a British Journal of Medicine, they found that the rate of discord within marriages can be determined by certain measurements of certain chemicals in the urine samples of children. They found in a study that they could tell if there are problems in marriage by measuring certain chemicals in urine samples of children. Meaning that their children secrete certain things into their urine when they are upset. And let me tell you, in another study, it was found that, this is not a medical study, but they found that marriage problems have the most impact on children. And in another study it was found that there is a correlation between longevity, or how long people live, and how happy they are in their marriages. They found that lonely, divorced people have shorter lifespans than those who are happily married. And some may consider that these are, you know, we know that. But these are scientific studies. We need to do something about this. And that is why the wisdom, the beauty in the ayat of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that one of the signs of power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Look at this. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. So that you may dwell unto them with tranquility, so that you may enjoy life after marriage. It is not meant to be a source of problems and source of difficulties. No, marriage should be a gift as it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now I want to tell you the 8 most common reasons that cause couples to think of separating from each other, or did separate from each other. These are facts I collected from my records. Why do people separate? Why do? So that when we realize that this is London, Ontario, this is the Muslim community, because we don't go around and say so and so, this is amana. But we can talk about general causes. Number 1, and this is not in order of importance, no. As I found them, I wrote them. Number 1, one of the two, either the husband or the wife, works hard on the other person, the husband or the wife, to isolate her or him from her or his family, friends, and relatives. They try hard to provide a lifestyle that will stop him or her from visiting as they used to his mother, her mother, friends, relatives. No, I will do this for you. They also make stories to make them dislike the parents that used to be part of that family. So number 1 is isolation from what needs to be part of our lives. Don't do that. Don't do that. Number two, in marriages that start as he's a revert, she's a revert, and the parents got happy because they couldn't. They wanted to convince their children, you need to have a homogeneous religious background. But after some time, they got married. She's a revert, he's a revert, either one of them. And after marriage, it is discovered that reversion was not for the right reason. It was just to get over the hurdle. And then after marriage, one of the two tries to put pressure on the other person to change his or her deen. And mostly it is to change Islam and to stop practicing Islam. In one of the cases, I know that after turmoil, they got married. And they had a baby boy. And he wanted to do circumcision, and she said, absolutely not. I will not do this. This is cruel. They started to fight, and then, she tried to convince him to change. This is just an example. I won't go any further. Number three, physical abuse, mostly from the husband towards the wife. Physical abuse is a cause of, don't just think I can do anything I want. And sometimes I found out in conversation that he is doing what he saw his father as a child do to his mother. And please realize that, as I will mention, when you have a disagreement with your husband or the husband with his wife, don't settle that disagreement in front of your children. Because by doing that, you are poisoning your children. You do not realize what you are doing to the children. You do not realize what you are doing to their urine sample. As I mentioned, I'm not trying to be funny. It's just referring to that example I gave earlier. Number four, always fighting for the simplest reason, because they thought that they were compatible with one another, but they discovered that it was infatuation. He liked her eyes, and because of that he thought that everything about her personality, everything is going to provide them with happy life. She liked his muscles. She wanted to marry him because of his muscles, and look what happened after marriage. They started to fight for the slightest reason. Number five. Yes, I thought it would never be a problem in our Muslim community. Substance abuse, addiction. Addiction of all kinds of things. Our community is catching up, if not because of the concentration within families. We have lots of people who are addicted to cocaine, to heroin, to amphetamines, to pornographic sites, pornography. Yes, it's worse than substance abuse. There are many who are addicted to those sites. And addiction is one of the causes of divorce. Number six, would you believe me if I tell you this? This is right from here. Establishing another relationship with another man or woman. Did I say with another man? Could women be doing this? Muslim women? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And men establishing relationships with women. Number seven, stinginess. Miserly behavior. During engagement, he became so spendthrift. He just spent for reason or no reason, and that is not right, by the way. But then after marriage, no. He will not spend what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to spend. And number 8, you are thinking of it and say, why didn't he mention it yet? And I'm sure that most of you can relate to this. Interference of the mother-in-law and the father-in-law next, because they are not the same, with the affairs of the family. Islam says, let go. You raise them to a certain point, let go. If they fall, if they face problems, it's none of your business anymore. Don't say, I would have done this and she is doing this and he... It's none of your business. The damage you are causing by interference is far more than the problems they are facing. These are 8 problems I found. There could be many, many, many problems. Now, some, and I have another list here, try very hard to continue their marriage despite their unhappy relationship. They try to continue, but we counsel them all the time. And this need not be a list if we follow what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. And I'll be very quick because of the time. We really need to have workshops on this. And this is the first time I'm mentioning what the leaders of this community are proposing. Please remember the word workshop. I'm going to talk about it in the second khutbah. The 10 reasons, yes, there are 10, why unhappy couples continue to endure their unhappiness, their misery. Number 1, because divorce has a bad reputation in our community. Nobody wants to talk about others as being divorced. Number 2, love from one side. I love him, I will not leave him no matter what. He discovers that or she discovers that he loves her, so the other person who doesn't have that same degree of love continue to abuse the other side. Love from one side. Number 3, it is, and I found it, that the marriage is not the first. They went through difficulties in the first marriage or sometimes the second marriage, so they don't want to go through the difficulties that they went through in the first or second marriage. They don't want to repeat it. Number 4, they are still, every time there is unhappy encounter, they live on the early days of their marriage, when they were still young, when they were still, happily married. They still build on that. Number 5, they don't want to think of loneliness after marriage, so they continue. And number 6 is the most prevalent. The most prevalent I find in my counseling. And that is hope that he will change one day. Hope that she may change one day, and that day may not come. And number 7, especially, if not always, related to women. She is alone in this country. She came from overseas. Her parents live away from her. She doesn't have any relatives. She has nobody, absolutely nobody. So she says, where will I go if I get divorced? So let me stay and he can do anything he wants, because I have nowhere to go. And number 8, after so much time in problems, they get used to it. So life to them becomes like that. They don't know what happiness is anymore. And number 9, having children in the marriage. Children break the parents. And number 10, they just seek ajr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say, whatever happens, I just want my reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, this is happening in our community. This is reality. But we can't, if we really want to, do the great things we talk about all the time to restore the ummah. You know, 2-3 weeks ago I spoke about the ummah, and I said وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ أَجَلٍ, that probably our ummah had faced death already. And I know, lovingly, some of you criticized my approach, that I was too negative. Probably the time of the khutbah did not allow me to explain the definition of an ummah. If we want to restore our community back to an ummah, because a community is not an ummah, a group of Muslims is not an ummah, groups of Muslims do not make an ummah. If we want to become an ummah again, we need to have that micro ummah called the Muslim family. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فيا فوز المستغفرين. Make dua. Please make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will accept our dua. Ameen ya Rabbil Alamin. الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Before I go into solution, because I mentioned problems, and I am sure that all of us feel heavy at heart. We realize, and I tell you, I didn't want to just come from general angles and say, I'm going to dump this on the congregation. I said that this is my community, this is your community, this is our community. Let's face the problem. And we all know that, you know, if I want my son or daughter to be the best in a certain profession, I advise them on the best universities, best colleges to enroll at. You know, some people say, I want to go to Harvard, I want to go to Stanford, I want to go to MIT. Why? It's not because of the reputation as being a status symbol. It's because good universities graduate good professionals. Good marriages graduate happy children who will propagate happiness in their marriages. If your marriage is not a good marriage, you're poisoning a generation. And my fear is that if we continue without doing anything simply because it's convenient, because what I'm going to mention now, I tell you, when I was speaking with Naji, I said, Naji, do you think that your proposal will be followed by the community because it's not convenient? He said, let's see and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they will see the light that will come with that proposal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran made a difference between a homogeneous, happy, married couple and a heterogeneous, a couple who are engaged in discord. You know how he made that difference? Just for a happy, homogeneous couple, he used the word zawj. Zawj. For the different, no homogeneity, he said imra'a. Imra'a. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in, Surah At-Tahrim, وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مُرَأَةَ فِرْعَوْنَ. Not Zawja Fir'aun, because Fir'aun and his wife Asiya were not the same. So he said, Mura'ata Fir'aun. The same thing, ضرب الله مثلا للذين كفروا امرأة نوح وامرأة لوط. Not زوج نوح and زوج لوط, no. Because زوج is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create. ومن آيات أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا. If you are happily married, if you want to know if you are happily married, then your wife and you are from the same element. Allah created you for each other. But if you go and choose the way you want, then it would be imra'ah and rajul فقط, not zawj and zawj, no. Anyway, the proposal is the following. Because we do not want couples to just go and get married because of whatever. And then they don't know what Islamic marriage, they don't know what marriage is all about. So the proposal is, and look at this, and please take it the right way, because many other faith traditions are doing what I'm going to propose. Before myself or Sheikh Jamal or Sheikh Abdel Fattah, and we agree to that, before we will conduct a marriage ceremony, a nikah ceremony, we would require that the couple had taken one of the workshops on marriage that are going to be conducted by experts in the field in the city of London. We will have those, spaced throughout the year. So before you even find the person you want to be married to, take that workshop, because you never know when you may meet that right person and you want to get married, so that you do not get caught. Okay, take that workshop. All we are saying is we are not going to do that unless you have taken that workshop. But before we will dictate everything in a dictatorial fashion, we don't conduct ourselves like that. This is what Naji and his board put together. A survey, a questionnaire. A questionnaire, the questionnaire, if you receive the newsletter regularly from the Islamic Center or the Masjid, then your email is among the emails that will receive the survey soon. So please answer it and send it. The more answers we have, the more we will know that it reflects what the community wants. And if you don't have an email, alhamdulillah, as you will leave now, you will find the survey outside in a hard copy. It doesn't take more than 5 minutes. I looked at it, 5 minutes is too much even. Okay, just answer it. Say, I need to be part of a solution that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants for the community. Please don't say, I don't care, I'm happily married, or I don't want to be married, or don't say that. Don't say that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you on the day of judgment, you had the opportunity to participate and you didn't. I know I took a long time. Please forgive me. I will finish by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to that which He loves for us. لِمَا يُحِبُّهُ وَيَرْضَاهُ. Please, the survey. It is by email or it is outside. We want to tell you the result ASAP, as soon as possible, so that we can start, inshallah, benefiting from this workshop. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وخطايانا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم علمنا من ديننا ما جهلنا وذكرنا منه ما نسينا وكن معنا ولا تكن علينا. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر